Iron. I had a spiritual awakening yesterday at 2:15 p.m. And by a spiritual awakening, I mean I had a full-blown existential meltdown in front of my microwave.
Fascinating. Usually your meltdowns happen in front of the toaster or the mirror. What did the microwave do to offend you?
I was heating up a leftover breakfast burrito, right? I put it in, hit the button for 45 seconds. 45 seconds, Iron. That is less time than it takes for me to tie my shoes. But as soon as the plate started spinning, I reached into my pocket for my phone. It wasn't there. I left it on the kitchen table.
Oh, the horror. How did you survive the tragedy?
I'm not joking, man. I looked at the microwave timer. It said 38 seconds. I looked across the room at my phone. It was 10 feet away. I actually calculated the physical trajectory of whether I could run to the table, unlock my phone, open an app, and get back before the beep. But then I stopped. I forced myself to just stand there. And Iron, those 38 seconds felt like a 3-week survival trek through the Siberian tundra. My skin started itching. I started counting the tiles on the wall. I felt like a feral animal trapped in a cage. Over 45 seconds of nothing.
Welcome to the baseline condition of the modern human. You literally cannot exist in a vacuum of stimulation for less than a minute without your nervous system throwing a tantrum.
But why? I used to be cool. I used to sit on porches and just look at trees. Now if I don't have a video essay about the economic downfall of a fictional video game kingdom playing while I brush my teeth, my brain tries to eat itself.
It's because we have completely eradicated what sociologists and psychologists call the blank spaces of the day. Think about life 15, 20 years ago. There were dozens of moments throughout the day where you were naturally completely unstimulated. You stood in a line at the grocery store. You sat at a red light. You waited for a friend to use the restroom at a restaurant. What did you do in those moments?
I don't know. You just stared into space. You thought about your life. You made up a little song in your head about a guy named Barnaby who lives in the sewer. Normal stuff.
Exactly. You drifted. Your brain dropped into what's called the default mode network. It's the state your brain enters when you aren't focused on an external task. It's where your mind processes emotion, consolidates memory, and generates creative ideas. But now, the exact millisecond the external world pauses, we plug the gap with a digital syringe of dopamine.
A digital syringe. That's heavy. But you're not going to believe this. I did some digging after my burrito incident. I found an actual scientific study from a few years ago that blew my mind. They put people in an empty room for 15 minutes. No phones, no books, no distractions. Just their own thoughts. But there was a button in the room, and if they pushed the button, they would receive a painful electric shock.
Ah yes, the Wilson study from Harvard and the University of Virginia. I know this one.
Wait, you already know it? Let me have my moment, Iron. I read paragraphs for this.
Apologies. Please, give us your breakdown of the data.
Thank you. So these researchers tell the people, hey, sitting alone might be boring, but don't shock yourself because it hurts. You know what happened? A massive percentage of the men, like over 60%, and a bunch of the women chose to intentionally shock themselves rather than just sit there in quiet contemplation. One guy shocked himself 190 times in 15 minutes. He turned himself into a human taser because he couldn't handle his own brain.
That's not even the weird part, Alex. The weird part is that before the experiment started, those same participants were asked if they would pay money to avoid getting shocked. They all said yes. They literally valued their money to avoid physical pain, but when faced with the alternative of being alone with their thoughts, they chose the pain for free.
That is terrifying. We would rather electrocute ourselves than look inward. What is in there that's so scary?
It's not necessarily that our thoughts are scary. It's that our brains have been conditioned to expect constant input. When you suddenly cut off that input, it feels like sensory withdrawal. Your brain interprets the sudden drop in stimulation as an emergency. It's an itch that demands to be scratched.
Dude, I scratch it every second. I am a professional noise addict. I realized this morning I cannot take a shower without entertainment. I bought a waterproof Bluetooth speaker. I wrap it around the shower head. I am washing my left armpit while listening to a 3-part audio documentary about a fraudulent medical device company. The steam is rising, the water is hot, and I'm deeply invested in corporate blood testing politics. Why can't I just wash myself in peace?
Because the shower used to be the ultimate safe haven for the mind. Think about the cultural cliche of shower thoughts. Why do people always have their best ideas or sudden epiphanies in the shower?
Because the soap opens up your third eye?
No, Alex, because it was the last place where your hands were busy and you couldn't physically touch a screen or a book. It was a forced blank space. Your brain was running on autopilot while you washed, which allowed your subconscious to connect dots it couldn't connect during the day. By bringing the speaker into the shower, you evicted the last creative sanctuary you had left. You traded your next big breakthrough for an audio essay about corporate fraud.
Oh my God, I've murdered my own genius. I could have invented a new type of battery, but instead, I know everything about Theranos.
Here's where it gets interesting, though. This isn't an accident. We look at ourselves and feel guilty. We say, "Oh, I have no willpower. I'm addicted to my phone." But you have to realize that your attention span didn't just wander off on its own. It was systematically strip-mined by some of the smartest software engineers on Earth.
Talk to me. Give me the corporate villain arc. I love a corporate villain arc.
Think about the design of modern apps. The infinite scroll. Who invented that? A guy named Asa Raskin in 2006. Before the infinite scroll, if you wanted to see more content, you had to click a button that said Next Page. That button was a physical friction point. It forced your brain to pause for a microsecond and ask, "Do I really want to keep looking at this?"
And usually you'd say, "No, I'm good," and you'd go outside or ride a bike.
Exactly. The infinite scroll removed the Next Page button. It turned content into a bottomless soup bowl. Psychologists have tested this. If you give someone a bowl of soup that secretly refills itself from the bottom while they eat, they will consume 70% more soup without realizing it, because their brain never receives the visual cue of an empty bowl.
Wow, the internet is just endless digital soup, and I am sitting here with a massive ladle chugging it until my eyes bleed.
And it's not just the scroll, it's the autoplay. It's the notifications that light up with variable rewards. It's designed using the exact same psychological principles as a slot machine in a casino. You pull the lever or swipe down to refresh, and you don't know if you're going to get a boring text, a funny meme, or a depressing news article. That unpredictability triggers a massive spike of dopamine. You are a lab rat in a cage pressing a lever for pellets, except the pellets are short-form videos.
Wait, it gets worse, right? Because now I'm thinking about sleep. I can't sleep without noise either. I need the sound of a fake thunderstorms or a 10-hour loop of a spaceship engine humming just to close my eyes. If the room is completely silent, my brain turns into a stadium full of screaming sports fans, but everyone is yelling about an embarrassing thing I said to a cashier in 2014.
That's what psychologists call solitude deprivation. A researcher named Raymond Kethledge wrote about this. When you spend your entire day pushing inputs into your brain, from the moment you wake up to the moment you lie down, your brain never has time to digest your life. So when your head finally hits the pillow and you turn off the screens, the backlog of unprocessed thoughts, anxieties, and memories suddenly rushes the stage all at once.
Like a mental traffic jam.
Yes, and instead of letting the traffic clear, you panic. You turn on the spaceship white noise or a podcast, and you sedate your brain into compliance. You aren't actually relaxing. You are just knocking your consciousness out with a digital club so you don't have to listen to yourself.
Man, that is so bleak. I am actively running away from my own internal life. But Iron, how do we stop? If I try to just sit in an empty room, I've already proven I will either crawl out of my skin or try to find a button to shock myself. How do you retrain a brain that's already been completely cooked by the algorithm?
You have to start practicing microdoses of boredom. You have to build up your tolerance to silence the same way you build up a muscle at the gym.
Microdoses of boredom? What does that look like? Do I just stare at a wall for 2 minutes a day?
Honestly, yes. Start with the microwave. Next time you heat up food for a minute, leave your phone on the counter. Stand there. Watch the plate spin. Let your mind feel that slight itch of boredom and just breathe through it. When you're driving your car, turn off the music or the podcast for the last 5 minutes of the drive. Just drive in silence and let your brain look at the road and process the day before you walk into your house.
5 minutes of silence in a moving vehicle sounds like a psychological horror movie. What if a thought comes up? What if I think about the mortality of the universe, Iron?
Then you think about it. It won't kill you. In fact, it might actually make you feel more grounded. We've become so terrified of our internal landscape that we treat our own minds like a bad neighborhood we shouldn't walk through alone after dark. But it's your mind. You live there.
Huh. A bad neighborhood we shouldn't walk through alone. That's actually really poetic, man. Wow. Look at us. We're being deep.
Don't get used to it.
You know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do a full digital detox experiment right now. Starting this exact second, I am going to sit here in absolute silence for 60 seconds. No talking, no jokes, no inputs. Just two guys sitting in a studio experiencing pure, unadulterated reality. You ready?
Sure, let's do it. 60 seconds starts now.
2 seconds pass. 5 seconds pass. Wow, this is long.
It's been 7 seconds, Alex. Keep quiet.
I feel like I can hear my own blood flowing. Why is your face shaped like that? Have your ears always been that size?
Alex, you're breaking the silence.
I can't do it. I can't do it, Iron. The silence is judging me. It knows what I did in 2014. Quick, give me a podcast. Tell me about a murder. Tell me about the fall of the Roman Empire. Anything.
Well, so much for the microdose.
Put on the digital soup, Iron. Pour it right into my ears. I am a broken man.
I'll find a nice 12-hour loop of a vacuum cleaner running inside a submarine for you.
Oh yeah, that's the stuff. Throw some thunder sounds on top of it, and I'll sleep like a baby.